What's up, Desktopers? Xavier Wills here for Desktop Bodybuilding, and we are back with another video. And today I'm interviewing a man who I think is a future Mr. Olympia, and that's Quinton Eriya. Only 24 years of age when this was recorded, since he's turned 25, as this was recorded about 2 weeks ago now. And we go into a range of topics. So we talk about Quinton's living arrangement, where he lives with fellow IFBB pro bodybuilder Antoine Vaillant, and also his sponsor as well. Plus, we go into much more, including his plans for 2020 and his goals to get on the Mr. Olympia stage this year. So all that and more coming up in this video. If you guys like this content, please give me a thumbs up and smash that like button. Also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up for myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding. We've got bodybuilding news, bodybuilding interviews, bodybuilding history, plus much more. Also, if you guys want to support the channel as well, please check out Hostile Supplements and Apparel by Fuad Abiad, fellow YouTuber and obviously IFBB pro. The link is in the description. You can use XAV10, XAV10, and you'll save yourself 10% off all their products. Literally, they are outrageous. Just go and check them out and check out what's actually in the ingredients, because they are totally transparent and tell you what is in there, and the products are outrageous. So they pretty much speak for themselves. So anyway, guys, on with the video, and I hope you enjoy this interview with IFBB pro bodybuilder Quinton Eriya. Welcome back to Desktop Bodybuilding. Today I'm joined by one of the best up-and-coming bodybuilders on the current pro scene right now. I'm joined by Quinton Eriya, 5th place finisher at the Toronto Pro last year and only 24 years of age. Quinton, welcome back to Desktop Bodybuilding.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Man, it's a pleasure. And we were just talking before this, and I was like, so you're 25 now? And you're like, nah, still 24. So that's crazy to me, because you finished 5th, top 5 in a pro show last year, and it wasn't like a bad lineup either. Like many people that can, hear of that, top 5 in a pro show last year might go, oh yeah, maybe it was a weaker lineup, but it really wasn't. You beat some quality names. So you're a real up and comer in this sport right now. So how do you feel about the 2020 season now? It's in, we're pretty much in lockdown right now. I know you're looking sensational. I've seen the photos coming out. And how are you feeling about the 2020 season? Are you still optimistic that it's going to go ahead?
Well, thank you. And man, I feel great. I mean, my strength is at its best that it's ever been. I feel like I'm the most muscular I've ever been. And yeah, everything's been smooth. So I feel like 2020 was already going to be a good year for me. So this COVID stuff just shook everything up. But I mean, it's happening to everybody. So, right now I'm just kind of on standby, just waiting till we know that there's going to be a for sure date. And then we're going to drop the hammer down and, we're going to see what's going to happen.
Yeah. And you told me you backed off things a little bit like that and all that sort of stuff. But really, your physique, I thought that you were going all out still with everything, like training and everything like that as well. So it's impressive that once you up your game again a little bit more, that you're going to make even better improvements. So that's really insane right now. So what are you weighing right now? I'll put up some photos on this video and because you're looking absolutely sensational.
Right now I'm weighing between like 275 to 280. I'm just trying to maintain that. I get like 2 cheat meals every week, minimal cardio. Like it's really not much. So yeah, I feel like I probably have 15 more pounds to drop, maybe 10 to 15, probably 15 before I'm like ready to compete.
Yeah, and obviously, like once you get fully back into it, get back in the gym, you probably add almost a little bit of muscle as well. Do you think it's 10 to 15 pounds of fat that you have to lose, fat and water, and then maybe you'll add a little bit more muscle as well?
Oh yeah, I think I'll definitely add muscle as well. I think over the past 6 weeks, so we've been on lockdown for about 6 weeks now. I lost a bit, but I've managed to get a bit leaner. But I think, when I start back up on things, I'm going to build a bit. And I think about 10 to 15 pounds of like bad weight that I have to get rid of. So I'm hoping to be about 265 when I'm on stage, around there.
Yeah. And what were you last year on stage?
Last year, one of the shows in Toronto, I was 252.5, and Vancouver, I was 254.
So you're looking to be about 10 to 15 pounds heavier this year.
That's the plan. That's what I'm hoping. Of course, I'll get as low as I need to like whatever's going to make me shredded. So the number doesn't matter, but I do think about 10, 12 is where I think I'll be.
Yeah. Now you went old school, like you blew up in your off season. You got up to, I think it was over 310 pounds or so, I think, from memory, for seeing the photos and all that sort of stuff. Now you're coached by Dorian Hamilton. Is he a big believer in that old school sort of, bulk up in your off season? You weren't like obviously just obese fat or anything like that. You were just very a bit watery and a bit of fluff as well. Now, Antoine done the same thing, and I believe he's coached by Dorian as well. So is he a big believer in that off-season put on size? Because it seems like with Instagram, a lot of people have moved away from that.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think Dorian really is. I think his approach is just more so like, be very health cautious, eat like a lot of, he gives us a lot of food, a lot of clean food. Well, like me and Antoine also, like we snack on top of it, or we have big cheat meals on top of it. And it's almost like we have a competitive thing with each other, because he's also like, we're housemates. So like he's always, if his weight goes up, I'm like, shit, well, I guess my weight better go up too. So we're always like almost competitively eating, I find.
Yeah, absolutely. And are you guys like traditionally big eaters anyway? Like, do you put away a lot of calories? Because I just interviewed Stan Delongeau, or however you pronounce his last name, and he mentioned that he is eating about 10,000 calories a day, and between one of his comps, he had a week where all he ate was pizza and burgers, and that's all he ate for a whole week. So he's got a crazy metabolism and needs to eat 10,000 calories a day to put on size. How much are you eating right now?
That's crazy.
I suppose you're off season, sorry.
Honestly, I never really tracked calories, so I don't know. But yeah, that's great. I'd never eat like that, or when I'm like on prep, when I'm lean. Like right now, I'm getting away 2 cheat meals and my weight drops. So my coach actually had to bring up my food during this like standby phase, so it doesn't keep going down. But so my metabolism's pretty good. But in the off season, like I'd have like, let's say for example, like a cream of rice or oatmeal meal with like 120 grams of, not carb, like just 120 grams measured, and then let's say 5 to 6 meals with like 300 to 400 grams of rice and whatever protein source. And then on top of that, I'd have like a burger and fries or a pizza at night, and like Pop-Tarts, cookies, ice cream sometimes. So it was like, I was getting in a lot of food, and the clean food took me like probably 20 hours to eat, and I would still eat other things on top of it. So it was pretty crazy.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy. Do you feel like that forcing a lot of food is a thing that obviously helps you grow a lot? Now, obviously, it's pretty correlated. The more you eat, generally, the bigger you're gonna get. Do you believe that's the way to go, especially at your age, or do you think when you're a bit older and have more muscle, that you probably stay leaner in your off season?
Well, there's good and bad with it. Like the good thing is like your upper body strength goes up like crazy, but the problem is, for me, when I'm not too lean, like my lower back starts to get a bit sore, and I can't go heavy on squats or bent over rows. So I feel like next year I'll modify my approach. I'll stick with the plan Dorian gives me, but I'll just probably cheat less or have a lot less sugar throughout the day. Because like right now I'm around under 280, and I'm squatting and rowing a lot more than I ever have in my life. So I kind of feel like you do gotta push the food, but there's like a limit. You don't gotta go too hard. Yeah.
And some of it as well is fluid. I know, like when I've been in off season before, or when I finish a comp prep, I go and squat, and I literally between each set I have to take the weight belt off, lay on the ground, and just put my arms back and let my actual lower back recover. So
yeah. Oh man, it's absolute hell. But the one thing I'm gonna say about the pushing food approach, I feel like it's better to do if you're young. I feel like when you're older, there's a lot more repercussions if you really like push growth like that. Yeah. Like when you're young, like I feel like I get away with it pretty easy. Like I don't, I breathe heavy when I'm going upstairs and stuff, but there's nothing really that's too bad.
Yeah. Now you live with obviously other pro bodybuilders. You live with Antoine. Do you live with Frank as well?
No, Frank used to live here, but he moved out, I think, in the summer.
Okay, yep. Are you and Antoine driving each other insane while in lockdown, or what?
No. like we don't see each other. It's weird. Like it's a pretty big space, so like we both have our own like spaces. I have the basement. He has like one whole section of like upstairs to himself. So we only like see each other like when it's deliberate. So we don't get on each other's nerves at all.
Yeah, that's great, man. Like, especially, I know I've lived with several housemates before, and I know, like, at a certain stage, you just want your own space. And I'm someone who just secludes himself to his bedroom pretty much, so I know.
Oh
I know
my
the feeling,
gosh,
man.
yeah, that's hilarious. Yeah, I lived with a couple guys last year. Like at some point, and that was great. Like we were in the same space. There was tension at times. Like, so it's good that at least here we all have our own space.
Absolutely. Now, which shows were you planning on doing before this whole thing went down, like before the whole Corona thing?
Oh man, I had my sights set on New York Pro, and the reason why is because I see New York Pro is like probably one of the hardest pro shows. It's always I feel like it's always the biggest pro show of the year next to the Arnolds, right?
Yeah.
You can't really compete with the Arnolds in Olympia. But I really wanted to test myself. I wanted to challenge myself. I wanted to go up against some of the best in the game and see where I stood. I knew I improved quite a bit from last year. So this would have been like a good kind of like a good way to get my feet wet for the year and then just go on from there. Because I feel like after that, every show would feel a bit easier maybe.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, did you have any guys like, getting into the sport, I suppose, like, because you haven't been into it for that long. Are there any of these guys that you have looked at, I suppose, that competed when you first got into bodybuilding, but are still competing now that you're sort of wanting to compete against?
Ooh, man. One of my goals this year was to be able to make the Olympia. I'm one of those people, like, I'm very ambitious. I always set myself like a very hard and aggressive goal. By no means do I assume that I will make it, but that was one of my goals. And I know that Dexter was retiring. So it was like kind of huge. It's like a big, like motivating factor to me. I'm like, you know what? You better get your ass to that Olympia stage. I feel like it'd be special to be able to, meet and also share that kind of moment with Dex because he's definitely in my top 3 bodybuilders of all time.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely obviously someone, but I think it gets to that stage where everyone just wants to stand on stage next to him as a respect thing. And the same thing sort of happened with Jay Cutler at the end of his career. People were on stage and go, oh, it's such an honor to compete with you in his last Olympia. And I think it's just a respect thing. And you want to be there and compete against, be able to say, I've competed against Dexter Jackson in the Olympia. And
yeah, for sure.
That'd be very cool.
Yeah.
Now, obviously going into this season, I've seen the improvements you've made. I mean, I remember seeing the off-season photos from last off-season compared to this off-season just gone. And the gains were tremendous, man. I think you gained about 20 pounds between off-season. So I think you could probably even be more than 10 pounds bigger on stage this year and probably in the same or better condition, which is just absolutely insane to me. How heavy do you think you need to be placing, just say, a top 5 or top 6 in the Olympia? Now, that's a little bit maybe away, but what weight do you think you need to be at on stage?
Well, thank you. And, I'll be excited if I'm at least 15 over. That'd be very exciting this year. But it's hard to. I think if I could come in like peeled at 270, like absolutely peeled at 270, I think I'll be in the top 10. Like 100%. I think it's just going to be 270, 275. It's going to be hard because I know I have like great shape, and I am still fairly new to this, so I don't mind. I know it's going to take time. I'm not in no rush, But I think 270, 275 peeled, it's going to be hard because I'm also tall. Like I have like good length, and so it's going to give like the big blocky guys a harder time when I get to that weight.
Yeah, I think many people would think at your height, because you're about 6 foot, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm just over 6'1", so.
Yeah, there you go. So many people would say at your height, you'd need to be high 200s in terms of maybe 290 to be competitive in a top 5 or a top 6 at the Olympia. But you've got such a small waist that I feel like you lose several pounds, 10 pounds, 15 pounds, just because your waist and that lower torso is so small. Now, is that something that you're like really, I think I even asked you this in the last interview, but is this something you're really concentrating on to keep small as possible? Because I haven't seen any growth in your waist.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, no, that's also one of my concerns about pushing food too hard. Maybe I might make my waist grow a bit. So that's something that, I'm monitoring, and I'll make a comparison from this prep once I'm at the end of this prep to last year, see if there's any changes, see if I need to change my approach for the off season. I'd like to keep myself nice and aesthetic. So I never want to be a mass monster. I don't think I need to be gigantic to do well. Because there was another competitor, I'm not going to name their name, but I looked at him, I competed against him last year. He was about the same weight as me, but a completely different style of look. We're the same weight, but his waist is like a lot bigger. So I thought about him, like, okay, he probably has a significant amount of that weight in his weights, in his abdomen area, whereas I don't. So I probably have more muscle because of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I try not to focus on the numbers because I know anatomically I'm just shaped different. So yeah, but I definitely don't want to sacrifice that because bodybuilding did change directions the past like decade or whatever. No, more than a decade ago, and it just went more freaky, mass, blah 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 blah. But there's a lot of young up and comers, who look very good or very aesthetic, and I kind of like the way things are moving with this.
Absolutely. And I remember there's a photo of you and Samson and maybe one or two other guys as well from last year. I don't know if it was the Toronto Pro or which show it was. And I was like, that's the future because there's a lot of guys with really nice shapes, real good aesthetics, and obviously younger, I suppose, or just guys that have been in the sport for a lesser amount of time. And for me, I look at you, I'm like, you're 24 now. Imagine another 6 years, like you'll be 30 and hopefully like a Mr. Olympia. Who knows? So
yeah, that's a goal, man.
That's super exciting. So whereabouts are you located over there? Are you actually in Toronto or just outside?
Yeah, just outside of Toronto. It's called Burlington, Ontario. It's about an hour away from Toronto.
Yeah, what's the bodybuilding scene like there?
Sorry? Oh, man, like the bodybuilding landscape is crazy. Like I feel like, my coach Dorian and his brother Noah, they created Pure Muscle and Fitness. And it just... beforehand in this area, the Greater Toronto area, there were a couple bodybuilding gyms. They were cool to go to, but the main bodybuilding hub, I think, was in Quebec. In Quebec, they're huge bodybuilding fans. They have a lot of bodybuilding gyms. So I love going over to the land of the French to go train. So when the gym Pure was created, it just changed everything. You have people visiting from here and there to come check out the gym, driving 10 hours to check out the gym, and it's it's so well put together. There's incredible equipment. So, also I have, my buddy Antoine Vaillant. We train together. Who else? Sometimes Zane Watson will get in on the mix. Regan Grimes will come in. He'll train with us. So it's just cool because there's always bodybuilders and we always push each other. And Fouad Abiad will also come out from time to time. He lives 3 hours away though, so not as often. But it's just cool because there's always there's so many people with so much experience and we all love the same thing and we just meet in this place and we get the business.
Yeah, for sure. And it just seems like a really cool gym, to be honest. I remember seeing it and seeing photos, and I remember it was being put together, and Antoine, I think actually that's when he tore his bicep. He was actually helping out with something and tore his bicep at that point, which was last year. So it seems like it's become something really big just over the past year.
Yeah. No, it grew exponentially. To be a part of the process, because I joined forces with Dorian, I started working. I moved to Burlington to be a bodybuilder full time. So Dorian and Noah helped me out with that actually, because at first I wasn't really making a lot of money. So they helped me last winter. And so I saw the whole process of the gym being created, and I was there. We were training every single day before it was open, and once they started getting enough equipment for us to train before it was open. So it was a very, I guess it was a sentimental process, So to see the way that it is now, how great the gym looks, how much people love it, and how much people worldwide, I guess, want to come there, it's amazing.
Now, you mentioned Quebec and Matt, they sort of had the hub of bodybuilding and the Mecca sort of there before. Now, is that because obviously it's French speaking there and the main language is French, which is to me in Canada sounds crazy, and to a lot of people that don't know about it, it is pretty crazy. And I know a little bit about it, but very, very little. So do they have their bodybuilding shows that they have there? Are they do they call out front double bicep and front lat spread in French, or do they make it all English?
You know what? I actually don't know because I haven't been to a show in Quebec. Well, you know what? I won my pro card in Quebec, in Laval, Quebec. Actually, I'm wrong.
Bro.
It's weird. You know what? I do kind of remember them saying something in French, but I can't remember fully, but like you remember like the order of the poses. So when they called it out, like I already knew what it was. So I was never lost or confused. But I do think they do call it in French.
Wow, that's crazy. And
Yeah.
is it tough? Like, do you know any French or?
I do know, like, I don't speak French, but like just from like fucking around and learning like stupid words here and there. And also you take it in high school, and I'm pretty young, so it wasn't that long ago.
Yeah.
So I remember quite a bit. So when I'm in like Quebec, I try and practice, and I'll try and speak to people. Usually I can only get through 2 sentences before they're like, "This guy's an imposter." But I try.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so cool. And
Yeah.
I suppose, what's your goals like going forward? So for this year, you compete. You mentioned obviously making the Olympia. That's probably the goal. Now, have you got an idea of which shows you might do? Because some have been rescheduled. The New York Pro, I've just seen, it's actually been rescheduled for the week before the 2020 Olympia, if it does go ahead on that date. Is that sort of a goal for you right now?
Yeah, like that. The timeline sounds pretty good. Hopefully everything. Yeah, I hope the Corona situation eases up in New York, and you know, if we're able to travel there and whatnot, like I'll definitely have my sights set on September 5th. That's the day I think, because I already said New York Pro, so I'd love for that to still be the show that I do. I'm under the, like, it's kind of weird to me. It's kind of weird if the Olympia continues on that same date. I feel like maybe it will be pushed back. I don't know. We haven't heard anything yet, but I just don't know. None of us know when the first official show is going to happen, so we don't know how many people are going to be qualified.
Yeah. Now, what's your life day to day now? Like now, with you're in lockdown, like what do you do day to day? Are you able to get out of the house and walk around, do some cardio around the streets, or are you pretty much staying home and then just going to the shops when you need?
You know, I spend time with you know, the girl I'm seeing, work out in the garage, go for walks. You go to the grocery store. It's really not that eventful, you know. Watch documentaries at nighttime, smoke a little bit of weed, helps with my sleep, and it feels good. It feels damn good. And you know, the cheap meals I usually have to like order in, or I go pick up takeout and bring it back home. So that's like the highlight of my life right now. You know, just eating and eating food and training. Well, it's always that was the highlight of my life before. So I guess it hasn't really changed. It's just a bit more. It's like my life is just a bit more confined to being at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's crazy how this has changed everyone's lives. I mean, for me, it's sort of almost just changed things that my partner's around the house more, but I'm still doing my YouTube. I'm just not training people now. I'm doing more YouTube and less of whatever else. But I know some people's lives have changed dramatically, whether they have a job, whether they're out 9 to 5, and now they're home all the time. They can't even deal with it. So we're sort of lucky that we have that structure with bodybuilding, I think, that it actually keeps us in a routine no matter what, because we have to wake up, we have to have our meals, we have to do all that sort of stuff. But I imagine if you weren't into bodybuilding, a lot of people get pretty lazy. Do you have any friends or anyone you know or your partner now that, or the girl that you're seeing, like sort of is really thrown off by this, I guess?
Man, the shorty I'm seeing, she's solid. Like she's probably better than me, and I'm good at it. Like she's very like strict and eats very clean, very regimented. Like there are a couple of people I know that are just like, and well, I guess because a lot of them like just don't have weights at home. They don't have access to the gym, so it's kind of like by choice. They're like, all right, fuck it. Like I'm just gonna like take time off, and you know. So, but I feel like it's not really because it's not because they're slacking, just because they just don't have a means to, you know, reach their goals, right? Like you can only do so many push-ups and towel curls before you get tired of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Quinton, I want to thank you so much for coming on Desktop Bodybuilding. Give a shout out to your sponsors and your coach and anyone else you want to thank.
Okay, let's see. I'd like to thank Dorian and Noah. I'd like to thank Antoine Vaillant, Melissa, Valerie. Who else? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
I put you on the spot, man. I put you on the spot big time. But as well, like Dorian obviously has his new supplement company, which you're sponsored by now, which is absolutely awesome. Now give them a plug, and how do people actually find out about their products?
So, just go over to my page, Quint Beastwood, or go to the hd.muscle page on Instagram. So I'm with HD Muscle. That's Dorian and Noah's supplement line. And it's cool because, Noah actually lives here too, as well as Antoine. So it's kind of cool because it's local, and you know, we do content, so I can actually be a part of the content week to week. So it's awesome because it gives me something to do, especially I forgot to bring that up during quarantine, so I could just film like workouts in the garage, me just getting busy and getting to work. So it's really cool, and they put a lot into the product. So it's a company where there's a lot of companies out there that they're just about selling products, and like their cost for the product is like very cheap. So the actual quality isn't that great, right? So like I know Dorian and Nolan, everything they do, they invest, they put a lot into it to make sure that what they give is like top notch. So I'm proud to represent a brand that, you know, is the upper echelon in my opinion. And I mean, you would know if you just read the ingredients. So.
Yeah, and it's funny that there's supplement companies now that are coming out and that have been made by bodybuilders, like real hardcore bodybuilders like Dorian. Obviously, it has athletes, and Fuad Abiad, who's just come on as a sponsor for Desktop Bodybuilding. Yeah. But like, I looked at his products, you know, when he approached me and I talked to him, I went and looked at his ingredients list, and I was like, man, I'm like, how much does this product cost to make? Because I think the pre-workout, the pump pre-workout, it doesn't have any added carbs in there, but it's like 30 grams serve. And I'm like, what? I'm like, I sent him a message saying, you guys aren't messing around. And I was like, this product's killer. And he's like, thanks, man. I'm glad you noticed, because there's a lot of good stuff in there. And I find the ones that are made by bodybuilders, generally they'll probably have a lot less profit margin, but the products are just absolute quality.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the thing. One of the things is like integrity is everything, and that's because like a lot of the bodybuilders that are doing it, they know what it takes to get to that level, and you know, like, but yeah, it's just because they live that life. They live that life, so they know what it takes, or the best thing to get you from where you are to where you need to be. So they make sure that their product has everything that people need.
Absolutely. Quinton, thank you so much for coming on Desktop Bodybuilding. I hope you're able to compete in 2020 and you're able to get on that stage and hopefully get to the 2020 Olympia, obviously if it does go ahead and everything as well. So thank you so much for coming on Desktop Bodybuilding. That's Quinton Eriya, top 5 finisher in last year's Toronto Pro, and hopefully a 2020 Mr Olympia competitor.
Thanks so much, brother. I appreciate you having me on.